welcome to another episode of Shop Talk. I'm Brad Goldberg alongside Ohio State pitching coach Dan DeLucia, and we are delighted to have on former SEC and National Pitcher of the Year, 2014 National Champion, 8th overall pick in 2015 to the Chicago White Sox in the MLB draft, and current White Sox pitcher Carson Fulmer. Thanks for joining us, Carson.
Oh, thanks for having me.
You like that intro?
That was so tasty.
I could add a few more things into that, but we'll wait for a little bit later. Can you talk to us about what you're doing right now? Kind of crazy times with this virus. Are you able to stay ready? Can you kind of tell the viewers what you're doing to stay ready, or kind of how you've adapted?
Yeah, I've always been kind of a weighted ball guy, so just having a wall around to throw everything I need to into that has been nice. My routine really hadn't changed very much. I think the only thing that's changed is really just me going to the field. I try to keep my routine the same, like I would be going to the field, since this is the quote-unquote current season. But no, weightlifting's been fine. I've been able to do that at my house. Throwing-wise, I've tried to eliminate a play catch partner, but it's still going through the same routine and just stay in the course. I think it's pretty hard, but once you find out what works for you, especially in this environment, you try to stick to it.
Just unprecedented times on almost all regards. It's like everyone we talk to is trying to find their new normal. You know what I mean? Like playing catch without someone kind of seems crazy, but when you think about where we are, it's almost what you have to do in most cases.
Yeah, exactly. It's tough, but you definitely find some ways around that for sure.
There's no blueprint for it, that's for sure. Let's start with your high school career, going into your college career at Vandy. You were drafted by the Red Sox, is that correct?
I was.
Was that a tough decision to not go pro? Did you weigh that, or did you know that Vanderbilt was going to be for you?
I wasn't ready for professional baseball. I needed to mature a little bit. I think I grew up in a very, academic driven forward family. My dad was an attorney. My sisters all went to big colleges to, study some good stuff. And I think growing up in that household kind of pushed me towards that direction anyways. Best of both worlds. I wanted to take the college process slow, which I did. I ended up waiting until about the last week of the signing period to commit somewhere. But no, I wanted to go to school really bad. Obviously, if if the money was right and if it was life changing, that's an opportunity you can't pass up. But I just wasn't ready for professional baseball. I needed to learn quite a bit of things before I made that next step. So, Coach Corbin was able to create, or at least I was able to create a pretty good relationship with him moving into my freshman year. And, going to school there was definitely a no-brainer. I'm glad I did.
That's awesome. Obviously, the decision worked out well for you.
No, I was going to say, can you expand on that a little bit? Because obviously some of our viewers watching this are, in the high school area right now, some college, but may have the same decisions coming up here. So maybe give some insight now that you're on the other side, right? You went through college, had a great career, and now into pro ball. Kind of looking back, and you give some of that insight to the decisions, and now knowing, you said like maturity, you needed to get some things figured out in college. Can you go into a little bit of that now that you're on the other side?
Yeah, I mean, from when you're born till you're about to leave from high school, you live at home, right? You have people to lean on, you have your friends, you have your sisters, your family, your brothers. I think whether you're making this step into college baseball or professional baseball, the biggest thing you look at is you're leaving home, right? That's a big step for an 18-year-old. As much as your parents try to help you make that transition, you're on your own for the first time. And I think that knowing that if I went to professional baseball, I'm really on my own. And if I go to college ball, there's going to be some nurturing. There's going to be some guidance by people who, are obviously familiar with the area, but are going to push me into the right areas where I'm going to at least have the opportunity to have some success. I think for me, that was 100% what I needed. As you guys probably know, pro ball is very appealing, just in itself. You grow up playing the game that you love and you want to be a professional baseball player, but the opportunity to go to school, to get a degree, to, just pad up that backbone that, once you get done with pro ball or something happens, as an injuries or whatever could come up, anything that could really come up, you have that security and you have that, you have that degree that's going to carry you on throughout the rest of your life. And that one for me was, definitely something I wanted, was obviously pushed by my parents, but to make that decision, but there's nothing more that you want to have that security, especially after you get done playing professional baseball.
Playing with you, Fulms, you're a guy who's always on the phone with his family, and you're obviously a family man. On the phone with your parents or your wife or your siblings, and I think kind of what you're getting at there is when you go in pro ball, there's a little bit of a team aspect to it in regards to, obviously you are on one of the affiliate teams, but if you're going to move up, down, stay the same, there's a lot of changing parts on that team. When you go to a college, you go to a university, you kind of create a second family, if you will, with the guys you're around, the coaching staff you're around, the support staff you're around. And that's a really good point you made kind of about the nurture, where you are going to be on your own for your first time, but the atmosphere you will be around will be a family atmosphere, and you really aren't alone. When you go to pro ball, you're on a, quote unquote team, but you're really there, for yourself for, darn near 90% of it.
Exactly.
It's definitely a good point. It's definitely a good point. All right. I want to talk to you about winning the College World Series. So you guys go to Omaha in 2014. You have a huge part of that. What do you remember most, or what are some of your founder moments of 2014?
Oh man. I'm not I don't want to sound too cliche. So I'm trying to stay away from that a little bit, but honestly, man, winning was fun. It's just, in anything you do, if you win, makes things a lot easier. But I think one of the reasons why we put ourselves in that position is because of how strong of a group we were with each other. I think that, the relationships that we made, obviously in 2013, but moving into 14, was some of the best relationships I've had with teammates and, the family that we were talking about earlier. But, man, I don't know. I think that it made showing up every day a lot easier. Obviously winning that and winning the national championship was amazing in itself. But, being able to spend that time with those guys and really, soak it all in when it was all said and done, it was great. And those are definitely the times I look back on right now.
Love that. Dan, you got something?
Yeah, I wanted to go in a little bit. You mentioned it kind of when we were talking about the training and what you're doing right now during these times. You mentioned, you've always been a weighted ball guy. And I remember watching the College World Series and seeing, you would long toss or try to long toss from pole to pole. a big long toss guy. So can you talk a little bit about your training style and why it works for you, and maybe why other guys may have a good or bad impression of that, especially when it comes to Driveline, balls, plyo balls, things like that? How does that work for you?
The reason why I loved weighted balls to begin with is because it got my arm in the right position to throw. Weighted balls will tell you, as you guys probably know, really fast if your arm's not in the right position. I think that arm strength is obviously, it enhances your arm strength if you stay on routine with it. But for me, it got my arm in the right position to get me into a place where, for me personally, long toss was where I started to build arm strength. It was where I started to build my stamina. That was the reason why I was able to go 120, 130 pitches once a week. That routine now has kind of changed just because of the amount of workload, but my routine's fairly the same in terms of my prep going into throwing or long toss with the weighted balls. But for me, I would long toss after outings. If I would throw on Friday, I would long toss on Saturday. That was part of my recovery. Any type of way where I can continue to move my arm and get it in the right position is what I want to try to do over and over again. So it helped with recovery, helped with arm strength. It helped with a lot of different little small intangibles, but I think that that's one of the reasons why I've stayed so healthy, knock on wood, is stressing my arm and just trying to get as much out of it as I possibly can, preparing for a start or a relief appearance.
Awesome. Yeah, that's one of the keys. There's three things that I always talk about when using some of those programs, and it's arm care 1, and then arm path 2, and then the third one's arm activation. Obviously, it's a way to use heavier implements to get your arm going without having to actually have a baseball in your hand. So
exactly,
you definitely hit on those. Perfect.
All right, so I want to talk to you a little bit about the pace of your motion in college and early into pro ball. Was kind of what you were known for, was going really quick on the mound. And obviously, you're one of the best college pitchers. Let's just go within the history of the world. You're one of the best pitchers to ever grace a college mound. Let's just call it what it is. Can you kind of talk about like where you got the idea to start that? Was it collaborative at Vandy? Was it pre-Vandy? Because I think it's kind of what you were known for at the time, and something that you and I continue to kind of talk about, what makes you you.
Well, to begin with, I started I messed with a couple of windups in high school. To be real honest with you, in high school, I played baseball because I loved playing baseball. I didn't really think that this was gonna, turn into what it did. I had the opportunity to go to school. I thought it was great. I would help my parents out financially. I played it because I loved playing baseball. And I remember I was at my house, was with my brothers, we were playing catch, and I was messing with some of these windups, and I think I got mad at my brother or something. He did something that I didn't like, and I quick pitched, right? I lifted my leg up and went crazy and tried to throw it as hard as I could at him. And literally, everything that I wanted to do, I've been working on for the past, I don't know, year or so, messing around, worked. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, that's kind of weird. I'll just continue to do that, right? So I ended up pitching that year with that motion. I went into school, and some of the guys I get joked around still about my motion. I get into school my freshman year, and everybody's like, "Hey, man, slow down. What are you doing? Just relax. lift your leg up, be under control. And I remember DJ, Derek Johnson at the time, came over and was like, man, listen, I kind of like that. Let's mess around. Long story short, DJ leaves, Scott Brown comes in, and I am throwing. And he also goes, man, I kind of like that. I like how your body's connected. And without me trying not to say anything and just kind of hold my breath, I'm like, I guess, Brownie, it works. It feels good. And he goes, hey, man, listen, this is how I work, right? I'm going to let you do your thing. You got to figure out your routine. This is part of the maturing process. If you like going fast and your body works well and you stay healthy, keep doing it. I'm not going to say a thing. So from there, I think it gave me the confidence to continue with that. Obviously, that motion gets the most out of my body in terms of velocity, in terms of just staying connected, which is a big phrase for me. Some guys go slow and they stay really connected. For me, it was going fast, and luckily it threw in a little deception in there as well. So something that's worked. I got away with it in pro ball when I first got drafted. As you probably know, playing with me, I got pretty slow at times. I tried to find that equalizer, and luckily this past off season, I was able to work back into kind of what I used to do, and now it's all kind of coming back to me, and I feel really comfortable. So if something works for you, don't change it. That's for sure.
Let's talk about that a little bit. I was with you when you made your debut in pro ball. We were in High A Winston-Salem. You flew through the minor leagues, make your debut not even a year after you get drafted, which is a testament to you as an individual and your work ethic, which I saw firsthand. From there, it was up and down. How did you kind of deal with flying to the big leagues? Because not a lot of guys go that quick. Personally, your stuff was there. I mean, I got to see you every fifth day. It was there. How did you deal with going pretty much, College World Series, drafted, big leagues in no time?
It was fast. The big leagues is a completely different, and you know this, is a completely different pace. Big leagues is fast. It's something you can't really prepare for. I mean, even AAA is nothing compared to or at least it's nothing compared to how fast the game is in the big leagues. But I don't know. I think that me personally, I think with me being so competitive, I was ready in terms of that. But it was fast. I don't think at the time, and it's just me being completely honest, I don't think I was ready to make that step from AA to the big leagues. I don't think that, I personally, I try to prepare myself as best I can for any type of situation, but it's, I think, pretty impossible. But no, I mean, I learned the hard way. I didn't have much success at first. Made a couple of ups and downs throughout the last couple of years. And, I think this year is the first year where I'm actually feeling somewhat comfortable. I think that, you can try to tell yourself, hey, this is nothing different, or whatnot. But it takes some time to get comfortable, especially at that level. And, you try to look back on every step really, but I think that now, after all the reps that I've had, I think that now I'm starting to feel comfortable and ready to make that next step.
That's good to hear. Dan, you got something?
Yeah. Going back to college, so you mentioned you had DJ first and then Brownie came in. So talk a little bit, and you can even take this into pro ball. Obviously there's you've got your thing, how you are, right? And we talk to our guys about always pitching with conviction and pitching to their strengths. All right. And you yourself better than anybody. Can you talk a little bit about, you had DJ, he left, Brownie came in and made that comment to you that gave you confidence that you know yourself best, work with what you know, and we'll make small adjustments from there. And then taking that into pro ball too, where each level you're now having a different guy overseeing you. Can you talk about, I guess, knowing yourself in and out, but also having different coaches along the way, and why that can be good and bad?
Just starting with DJ, I had DJ for half a semester, my first fall semester, before he went to pro ball. I had him as he was the recruiting coordinator, or one of the recruiting coordinators at the time, especially from the pitching side. That's the guy I dealt with. So I started creating a pretty good relationship with him, not particularly in person, but through the phone, which I think with us talking quite a bit, it was pretty beneficial once I got onto campus. But, DJ is different than a lot of other guys. I think even talking to, Vandy guys or guys that play with the Reds now, how he kind of has that college mindset of, hey, man, I'm here, but I want you to learn what works for you. I think that, we're all going to have accountability for each other, and we're going to really learn what works the best as a unit. I think that, having the resources, me here, and if you need anything, I'm here, but we got to figure this out kind of on our own, and we'll what works best for us. But I think when Brownie came in, obviously coming from St. John's, came into our program, no one really knew what to expect. I think for any college player, that transition is really hard because of how close we were to DJ. But Brownie became pretty close with all of us pretty quick. I remember him sitting us down and going, hey, this is your playground. As, here are the resources. We have pretty much everything you guys possibly need to create your own routine. Here it is. I'm here for you. If you guys need me, I'm definitely the resource you have. But that was huge for me because I didn't have a routine. I never had a routine. I just picked up the ball usually and started throwing. Started creating a pretty good routine with that. And then, he was obviously, I think, the biggest part of my routine now, and the one I've kept for such a long time. But you take those two coaches and you go into pro ball, and, you got to take ownership of what you've been doing. I think that there's a lot of different opinions. I personally became very frustrated because I didn't have the relationship that I had with DJ or Brownie with the professional pitching coach. So we kind of butted heads there a little bit. But as we were talking about earlier, you do well, you go to another level, you have a new pitching coach. You go to the next level, you have a new pitching coach. There's not really any really consistency there, which is very frustrating. But that's why I try to press a lot of guys towards college ball, because it gives you those 3 or 4 years to really, anchor down that routine and really just kind of just drive what gets you going personally the most.
I want to elaborate on something you said in there a little bit. Can you kind of talk about what it was like in, we interviewed a pitching coordinator the other day, and he used the term training economy to be around guys like Walker Buehler, Tyler Beatty, Dansby Swanson on a daily basis for, one, the competitive aspect. And that's something I want to get into later in the interview, is just about how you're kind of a maniacal competitor in the best light I can create that. And you're one of the most competitive dudes I've ever played with. But can you kind of talk about, that kind of training economy with those, obviously Vanderbilt has a wealth of talent, and they would probably say the same about you. They got to face you in fall all the time, and how that kind of pushed you or helped you in that regard?
I think it was the best thing that could have happened to me, honestly. I wanted to go to a place where there was really good talent, obviously, but I wanted to go to a place where I knew people were really going to push me. All of us, I mean, we were very close, but we got the most out of each other. You name it. I mean, confrontation, constant bicker. I mean, whatever, you know how it is. I mean, I think that we all want to be the best, and sometimes it was very frustrating, and we kind of got into it a little bit just because of that's all what we wanted to do was win. I think that having Walker around, having Beatty around, Kevin Zomek was a guy from the Massachusetts area. He was our Friday night guy my freshman year. Just having guys there that you can compete with was big. I think that, obviously watching Walker now and him probably being one of the closest guys, to me, it still fuels me. Every time he goes out there, he pitches well. I want to pitch well. We kind of still have that competitive fire between each other, but we're best friends. I think that, at the end of the day, each time we go out there, we want to be better than one another. But when it's over with, we're best friends. I think that separation was really good for all of us because we realized what we had, and we wanted to win, and we were going to get the most out of one another as much as we could.
That's an awesome culture that you guys created, and obviously one that, listen, when you have that type of talent in a guy of your caliber, as a human, but also as a competitor, that's when things get fun, man.
I appreciate it. Yeah, no, it's we just weren't going to stop. I think that was the biggest thing. I think that when we get done playing, I think that's when it stops. But until then, I think that that's always going to be our biggest trade, and that's something I really take to heart.
I want to talk to you a little bit about kind of furthering that training economy. You're staying in the Seattle area right now, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you took a trip to Driveline, the actual facility, right? Was it last off season or this off season that you were there?
Last off season.
Last off season. Can you kind of talk about your experience at Driveline, kind of what you set out to do there, and again, another place where you wanted to kind of chase some edges and go find some competition, and maybe a little bit more about yourself in a data analytics setting?
Yeah. To keep things short, I think that with so many delivery changes going from 2015 to this past off season, I think that I made so many switches that I lost that I became disconnected, which is by far my biggest no, right? I never want to be in a position where I don't feel powerful. I lost that. I saw a dip in my velocity. I saw a dip in my stuff. And again, I went back to kind of things that I did in college. And that was pretty much the Driveline program, I guess. My wife's from Seattle, so when I came up here and started living here, that was a no-brainer for me. I want to get back in there. It's just perfect timing. Not only am I going to be around guys that kind of shaped what I did in college, but I'm going to have the cameras. I'm going to have all the technology that I need to get back to where I once was. So I was in there. I was able to create kind of more of a, impactful routine in terms of the weighted ball stuff. I did some drills with some of the guys there to get my legs back into where I wanted them to be. Got back on the cameras, went into the season, had a pretty decent year. And I've still been trying to work on that. But, finally, I think now I finally figured out what exactly it is that I used to do. I feel extremely connected now. And, obviously the Driveline facility with the kids that are there and the people who are going to push you in a way to get the most out of you was really beneficial for me. But, it was something I needed to do. And like I said, to this day and since college, I've kept that same weighted ball routine, which is huge for me and a lot of other guys as well.
Yeah.
Good to hear. I just had one further question. Obviously, you've been to the top, been to the big leagues, up and down. So I guess in your mind, you feel like, again, you know yourself pretty well, inside and out, and you just mentioned that you feel like you have a really good grasp now of what it's going to take. So I guess, what are some things now for you, and I'm sure your long-term ultimate goal is to stay in the bigs, right? To stay there as long as you can. I guess, what are some things either from the physical side or even the mental side that you've taken as a learning experience that are going to help you sustain yourself at that level?
Consistency. I think that's the biggest thing that a player can possibly have. I was in the big leagues and I was able to stay up there and for the last, 4 years or so, which I've been very fortunate to have. But it took a lot on me because I never really experienced failure. And I think that was something I just couldn't understand. This off season, the routine was great and I was able to work on some stuff on the mound, but I really focused on the mental side of the game this off season, and it was really influenced by Lucas Giolito. I think that transition that he made last year was something that we all saw, but I wanted to, I had many conversations with him, but I was pushed into the mental training side of things this off season, and by far career changing, I think. I think that having consistency and knowing that you're not going to have your best day every time you go out there is really important. But guys that stick around the league for a long time, they, give up one run on a bad day instead of 3 or 4. They take their good days when they can get them, but they're able to eliminate damage and stick, I guess, to the same mental routine that they have each day, and they really don't get away from that. But this game's tough, as you guys know. I don't like using the word grind because I don't think, obviously we're given the opportunity to play the game that we love every day, but quick recovery memory, just being able to bounce back and just not do too much, right? I'm a perfectionist. I want to do the perfect thing every single time, but as you've seen in the last couple of years, that doesn't work out majority of the time. And just being great in what you do, not doing too much, but just doing it the right way and having conviction in every pitch that you make is really the only thing that I kind of live by now. And I trust my body. I want it to take over. I just want to be in the right state of mind to make the right pitch the right time. And I know personally, once it leaves my hands, there's nothing really I can do about it. But showing up to the field every day with the same goal in mind is really big. It's been really big for me, and it's taken me a long time to figure out.
Those are great perspectives, and I think you hit the nail on the head with what a lot of other successful guys are doing the same way. So I think those are, again, great nuggets there for anybody that's listening or watching to take away. Good stuff.
It's awesome stuff, Carson. All right, let's get to the fun part. We're done with most of the the hard-hitting questions. Let's get into Carson Fulmer, the person. you are a like ultra competitor, and everyone says that they're a competitor, right? Especially in the college and pro baseball circuit. What kind of was it growing up? Where's the drive come from to be so competitive? And I have a couple questions off of that. Go ahead.
Having two brothers, I guess. I don't know. I'm the youngest one in the family, so I was always that kid left out, I guess. They were great, but let's all be honest here. I think that I wanted to beat them as much as I possibly could. I don't know. I had a dad that was very very caring, but he was very stern. He was a military man, very old school. I think that was the one thing that he stressed the most is, having an edge. He always used to tell me that all the time. You have to have an edge. You have to separate yourself. I think having that at a young age, I don't know. I think that there was certain things that happened where, I never took no for an answer. And especially when I was put in positions where I could lose. I don't know, honestly. I think it all came from my dad. He was very competitive in his work as well. I was able to see that every day, but you know what? I just hate losing. And when it's all said and done, I hate losing. I hate it. I don't know. I just, it's hard to even explain, I think that I personally don't want to lose. I don't want my team to lose. And I want to finish in a place where, there's either no more games, and that's winning a championship, or, achieving as many goals as I possibly can as an individual. So it's in there for good. It's never going to leave. And I'm looking forward to getting back out there for sure.
Dude, I love that. I want to tell everyone a quick story about when you first got to pro ball. You're one of the first guys that I kind of looked at as a younger age guy. I was always kind of older on the teams I was at, and you came in and you were one of the first guys I ever kind of admired from the standpoint of like a crazy, raging, competitive guy, but also like being a great teammate while you were doing it. You would roll a ground ball and someone make an error, be like, I got you, like, let's go, like, before an inning, come on, fellas, like, let's go, like, talk into your infield. And sometimes it looks like frowned upon in pro ball, but like you can just tell the competitive edge. You get a strikeout and you're punching your glove, like, just like absolutely like genuine competitiveness and drive was something I really looked up to you about. So that was something that I took with me from you, but it was like so genuine, and you were very talkative, but it was you could tell it was a competitiveness from it was driven inside of you. It wasn't a fake, let's go guys, I got you. It was dead serious, and it was fun to watch.
No, I appreciate it. It definitely.
I know you calmed that down a little bit, but
yeah, no, it rubs some people the wrong way. I think that I've had numerous conversations of me doing that, and I personally black out and I don't remember a lot of it, but I have to come in the next day in the locker room and go, hey man, listen, like, hell of a play, but hey, if I start talking to myself, or I try to seem to hoorah, I don't mean to do that in a way that's trying to like make you like me. I'm just saying that because I'm trying, like, that's just, I don't remember it. So I appreciate you understanding that.
Yeah, between the white lines, man, you're a different bird in between the white lines. There's nothing to apologize about for that, man. All right, we got two more subjects. Next one is something I don't think a lot of people know about you is you're a bad dude when it comes to karate and martial arts. Can you kind of give us?
I knew you were gonna bring that up, man.
Just a little bit of insight about why someone probably wouldn't want to mess with Carson Fulmer in a dark alley.
I don't know. I think that growing up, my family let me do pretty much whatever I wanted in terms of sports. I had a couple of buddies I went to school with, elementary school with, that were like, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to try this Taekwondo thing out.
Taekwondo.
Yeah, I think that I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's do it. If we're all going to do this, might as well. And lo and behold, I think the competitive side came out of me, and they dropped out, and I still stayed in there. My dad loved it. I think that he loved that more than baseball and other sports that I played. But I don't know. I think it gets back to the reason why I liked it so much is because of the discipline side of it. You work on obviously a lot of flexibility, but there was a lot of technique. There was a lot of routine. There was a lot of stuff that I was going to have to use later in high school that why not learn now? Gio, talking about Lucas Giolito, he swears I'm not a black belt still. A lot of people don't. I still have to bring my belt in, I guess. I don't know to show people, but I don't know. I think that I learned obviously a lot of stuff in terms of pressure points, self-defense, a lot of stuff to help defend myself. I think that, that could be beneficial, I guess, if I was ever put in a position for it to work. But I don't know. I think that it was something I could be really competitive in that wasn't a specific known sport. And, I think it's something I definitely want to get back into eventually once things kind of slow down. I enjoyed it that much, but I don't know. It's been I got to show people. Everybody's still kind of doubting it right now. I guess I got to wait for the right time to do something, or I don't know.
Just be careful showing it to people, because I believe you, man. I didn't want to get tested on. You know what I mean? I have 0 belts. I have a brown belt I wear with dress pants, no black belt. All right, two more questions. Who was your favorite player growing up, or did you have someone that you like emulated growing up in Florida? Was it someone local, or was there a pitcher you styled after, or no?
No, his name was Jake Peavy. Still by far my favorite pitcher. That I'm a huge Jake Peavy fan. I know that probably being with the White Sox, a lot of people didn't know that. I think I threw out I like Nolan Ryan, but everybody's like, well, who's your favorite pitcher? I'm like, Nolan Ryan. But then, I didn't want to be that guy again, right? I didn't want to be like, yeah, Jake Peavy's my favorite pitcher. But he's by far, I'm a huge fan of his. I'd love to, I don't know. I think the way he carried himself, the way he was ready, every time he went out, obviously he's very known for his screaming and his, I don't know, ultra fire, I guess. I don't know.
That explains it now, man. That explains it.
Yeah, no. And I, I don't know. I think that I don't do that because of him, but I think he's just, I think we're very competitive, and I would want that guy on my team, and I'd want him as a teammate, that's for sure. And getting around, being around guys that have played with him now in the organization. Obviously he's a great guy, but he still had that fire off the field as well. I have a lot more respect for him now, so even more than I actually did. But no, this is he's by far my favorite pitcher.
You ever met him or talked to him?
I haven't. No, I know we've met some people that obviously know him pretty well, and I don't think I've opened up to that yet. But no, I'm hoping that
we got to make that happen.
Talk to him. Yeah, so we'll see. But no, he's by far my favorite.
That's awesome. That's a unique one. All right, last question.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought about too. Was what Foles when you said I thought competitor. That's exactly. I just remember watching him the same way. He's just a unique competitive edge, even though he had that fire. So that's actually pretty cool and unique.
No, he's awesome.
Last question. You're a big shoe guy.
Mm-hmm.
We talked to Giolito about this, kind of getting into some of your hobbies off the field. Can you tell us maybe your most recent shoe purchase or some of your favorite shoes you got? Because you were as much as you were like a very meticulous competitor, you always kept your shoes like super clean when I was around you, and you had a lot of them with that Nike deal.
I think that I'm starting to narrow it down now. I got a little crazy there for a while, but I like my ones. I'm a huge Air Jordan 1 guy. That I know that a lot of people like those as well, but I don't know. I was talking to my wife about it the other day because she obviously came over and was like, "Hey, you need to tone this down because it's kind of getting out of hand." But I don't know. I'm kind of making that transition over to the Air Max.
Okay.
Yeah, I like them a lot. I have quite a few pairs. I don't know. I just don't think I could ever get away from the ones though. The ones are
You're timeless, man.
Yeah, those aren't going away anytime soon. And I think it's just the fact that I have to sort through the ones that I like and trade off, I guess, the ones that I don't or something. I don't know. I gotta speak to Sabina about that one, but
We'll edit this and tell Sabina this never happened.
yeah, she's probably thanking you right now, honestly.
Tell her the check's in the mail. All right, dude. Well, we couldn't thank you enough for having you on. This was a lot of fun and really informative. So, listen, man, best of health to you and yours. And whenever this subsides, man, I know your time's coming, dude. Just knowing the type of person you are and your work ethic, it's just a matter of time. You've endured some adversity, but I think it's the best thing for you, and it sounds like you're ready, dude. So we are so thankful to have you on, and best of luck and health to you.
Dude, no, I appreciate it, man. Anytime you guys need anything, just let me know.
Thanks, Carson. We'll talk soon.
No worries.
Appreciate it.